Hi everyone, and welcome to another Kerv Digital webinar. Today we're talking all things Business Central, and in particular how and why you should transition to Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. So next slide please, Jason. Thank you very much. So we've got a packed agenda for you guys today. I'm hoping it's going to bring more entertainment than the England game did last night. I'm going to kick things off with giving a brief overview of Kerv Digital. Then I'm going to hand over to our head of Business Central, Gerd, who's going to give an overview of the platform. Then we're going to jump into a customer success story between London Marathon Events and our very own Jess Cook from Kerv Digital. This will be in a Q&A format. Then we're going to jump back to Gerd, who's going to talk about the specifics of making the move to Business Central. And finally, we're going to hand over to Brad Martin, who works for Ingram Micro, our licensing partner, talking about the specifics of kickstarting your move to BC. Next slide, please. I believe it's Trish, not Jason, sorry. Thank you very much. So at Kerv, our mission is to use the power of technology for good. Our goal is to help our customers get ahead and stay ahead by leveraging technology to deliver digital transformation that enables sustainable success. Our vision is to be the most sustainable technology services business in the world through a relentless pursuit of amazing customer and employee experiences, and by always striving to do the right thing. So today the focus is going to be on Microsoft Business Central, but Kerv have full Microsoft stack capability as demonstrated by our partner designations on the right there in Biz Apps, Infrastructure, Modern Workplace, Data and AI, and Digital and App Innovation. And we deliver this through our 200 wonderful members of staff, which is made up of a wide mix of functional consultants, data scientists, developers, solution architects, user experience design, DevSecOps, and much, much more. Having all this capability in-house under one roof means that Kerv can offer unparalleled contextual advice to help map out every stage of our customer's journey with technology. Kerv has successfully delivered BC projects across multiple sectors, including central gov, transport, not-for-profit and charities, and the commercial sector. Through these successful engagements, we have become Microsoft's go-to integration partner for many BC and digital transformation projects. We have achieved industry-leading sustainable year-on-year growth by maintaining our core social value-focused approach. And this is demonstrated by our pending B Corp certification, which is a rigorous external assessment against a range of social metrics. So you don't just have to take our word for it. Finally, I just want to shout out some of our awards that we're super proud of, including DevOps Team of the Year, fastest growing tech companies by Sunday Times, and our various Great Place to Work certifications. Next slide, please. As mentioned in the slide before, Kerv operates across a wide range of key sectors, including central gov, transport, charity and not-for-profit, and commercial. Now, I'm not going to go through these one by one as we want to jump into the main content, but some highlights to shout out are a complete rebuild of the driver's theory test and a fantastic Business Central project with London Marathon Events, which you're going to hear about shortly. I think that's me done, so I'm going to hand over to my good friend Gerd to talk to you all things BC.
Thanks, Al. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this part of the webinar. So I'm going to give you guys an introduction to Business Central just for this section. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about BC. We're going to explore the different tools that it offers. So let's go ahead and move on, please, Trish. Thank you. So firstly, I guess let's start with what is Business Central, or BC as it's often referred to. Well, BC is an ERP system which we can use to connect together all of the different areas of our business. Okay, so if I just look at the diagram here on screen, we've got many different modules. So you've got, starting at the top left there, we've got financial management. As you'd expect in any ERP software, we've got our general ledger, you've got budgeting, forecasting, and all those other sorts of tools that you'd expect to see in any ERP. So moving on to the right, we have a fully fledged project management module. So it used to be called jobs, but they've recently changed the name there to project management, and you can do time and materials, fixed price, a number of different types of projects there in BC out of the box. We do have other things around operations management. So you've got things like purchase order processing. You have things like minimums and maximums that you can store against stock levels. And that sort of moves us on to our supply chain management. You've got vendor management. We've got a fully fledged purchase order system. You can go right from purchase quotes all the way through to purchase invoices. It does the full P2P. We do also have a service management module in Business Central. So if that was an area in which we focus, service management is available to us there in Business Central as well. And of course, as you'd expect, we have sales management in BC as well. So we've got sales order processing as well as sales invoice processing, right the way through from quote to cash. And just to finish up on this slide here, it was named, that is Business Central, the best ERP system in 2024 by Forbes Advisor. Please can we move on, Trish? Thank you. So just going to dive a little bit deeper into some facts about Business Central. So I've just run down this list that we've got on screen. It is a cloud-based solution. So some of the sort of older solutions around ERP, even Dynamics Nav, which is where Business Central came from. You know, we're seeing a lot of people move from Dynamics Nav onto BC now. So with Business Central being cloud-based, it basically makes life a whole lot easier to access, to integrate with other systems. I mean, you have a BC app on your phone, you've got a BC app on tablets, and literally to access Business Central, you just need a login, a browser, and a laptop. So it's really simple to access. So the next thing here is Business Central is built on what we call extensions. So what is an extension? Well, I like to describe it as a small package of functionality which sits within our Business Central environment. Okay, so an extension can be something very small, from an email Outlook connector allowing us to send an email within our Business Central environment, or it could be something maybe quite complex, such as the Making Tax Digital connector that connects BC to HMRC, allowing us to submit VAT. But essentially the way that BC is built is a number of these extensions, which I will show you on screen a little bit later, that make up Business Central as we see it. Now, because of the last two facts here, because BC is cloud-based and it's extensions-based, we do get automatic updates to our Business Central environments. Okay, so BC in the cloud gets minor updates every month, and it gets 2 major updates every year. So they call the updates waves. They come in waves throughout the year. The major updates come in April and October. They're referred to as wave 1 in April and wave 2 in October. And Microsoft are really good in that we literally get a long list of functionality which is going to be released in each of those wave updates. So furthermore, we also have some pages within Business Central. There's one called Feature Management, which we can use to test these incoming updates on a sandbox version of our Business Central, just to see, you know, what sort of impact that update might have on our particular environment. So the next point here is that BC does integrate with other Microsoft products really well, and that out of the box as well, right? So it comes with out of the box integration to things like Power BI, Excel, Word, even customer engagement, you know, so we can connect to Dynamics Sales, we can connect to Dynamics Customer Service there out of the box. So as I've mentioned earlier, we do have multiple modules to choose from. We had a quick overview of them on the slide before, and it's basically just to say that you don't need to go live with all of the modules that we have within Business Central. Okay, so we're often seeing sort of a phased approach to projects now, where customers are choosing to deploy a particular module or modules of their choice, and then over time we go into something like a continuous improvement contract, where we can help our customers grow and basically utilize BC even better, focusing, I guess, particularly on those wave updates that are coming in sort of twice a year, and we just help our customers utilize those to the best of their ability. So BC does have years of heritage. It's been around for a long time. I mentioned quickly there on the call earlier that it was Dynamics Nav in an earlier world. It's now Business Central. So Dynamics Nav has been around for a very long time. I think it was 1987 that it was first ever released, and it was acquired by Microsoft, I think, in the early 2000s. But really just wanted to put this point in there because it's been around for a long time, and it's very good at what it does. So the next point here is around localized functionality. So this is where you may have operations in other countries. Excuse me. So where you need localized functionality. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, localized functionality in the UK, for example, is our making tax digital function, right? So we need MTD to submit our VAT to HMRC. Equally, if you're operating in the US, you need sales tax to submit tax to the revenues there. In Spain, it's SII. I mean, we've worked with a number of different localizations over the years. But it's just to mention here that Business Central does operate, I think it's in 130 plus countries now. So you're sort of looking at out of the box deployment, and you'll get everything that you need within that localization. Now, final point on this slide here is we do have a few different license types in Business Central. I guess there's three most popular ones. If I start at the bottom, the team member license is the lowest cost license per user per month. And this is a license which allows users to log into Business Central and read all of the data that we have there. Okay. Equally, they can do some light tasks such as putting on quotes on your sales ledger, purchase ledger. They can do things like approvals as well. Okay, so that's a team member license. So the next level of license that we have is the Essentials license, and that is just a license which gives you access to basically do all of the sorts of things that you would need to in Business Central. So it's not read only, it's read, edit, modify, whatever you may need to do. You can post transactions, you can do everything you need to with an Essentials license. Now, focusing on the slide that we sort of had earlier around the different modules, going back to that, if we had the requirement to do service management and manufacturing operations within Business Central, we would need the third and final type of license. That is a premium license within Business Central. Okay, so three types of license there: team member, essential, and premium. And basically the ones that you're going to choose are going to depend on what you're looking to do within your Business Central environment. And we'd always work with you, during the project deployment phase, just to determine what type of licenses we need and how many of those we might need. Okay, so if we could move on to our next slide, please. Trish, thank you. So this is just an overview slide here to show a few of the different capabilities. So just drilling down a little bit further into the slide that we had earlier. I'm not going to run through everything here, but I guess we'll just leave it up for a second for people to read through. As you can see, we've got loads of different modules, loads of different capabilities across Business Central. And as I mentioned earlier, you don't need to deploy each of these in order for you to use BC. Okay, so you can pick and choose. Obviously, there are dependencies. You're not going to do things like your inventory module without a general ledger. I mean, it's just not going to work, right? So it is a case of what do you want to do, and sort of what order do we want to do that in, and then we can decide sort of what capabilities, what modules you guys need. Okay, so Trish, if we could move on again to the next slide, thank you. So I'm just going to talk through this slide to begin with. I'm going to go into a demonstration shortly, but I'll just quickly explain what we're going to see on the demonstration before I jump in, okay? So initially, I'll just give you an introduction to the demonstration Business Central environment. I'll then talk you through extensions and the marketplace. And then I guess it wouldn't be a BC session, a modern BC session without us going into Copilot, right? So there's a few new additions that have come in through Microsoft's AI initiative, which is the Copilot function that I've mentioned here. So I'll talk a little bit about that, and then I'm just going to spend a little bit of time talking about the Analyze function, which again is quite a recent update that's come into Business Central. Going to leave it at that, just thinking about time and the other bits that we need to get through. But let me just bring up my screen and I will then hopefully be able to show you Business Central. Okay, so you guys should be seeing Business Central on screen right now. Let me know if you're not. Great stuff, thank you. So this is just a home screen that you see when you log into Business Central. And the first thing I'll mention here is, in order to get to this page, I've got a URL, which I've got at the top of my page here, and I've got a user login. Okay, so on the right hand side here, you see I'm logged in with my admin user account to my demonstration system. Okay, so the home screen is very much role tailored. So typically you'd be assigned a role within the Business Central environment, and that would determine everything that you see on this home screen. So I'm just going to start breaking this down in a second, but if I just come into my settings here, as I've mentioned, you're assigned a role, and this role here that I'm looking at now is Business Manager Evaluation. Okay, so I'm going to change that a little bit later, just so you can see how that's impacting my user interface. But over here along the top here, guys, we've got the Microsoft 365 bar, which tells us we are currently logged in to Dynamics 365 Business Central. Okay, then I've got my waffle to the left of this, or the app launcher as they call it, and this gives me access to all of the other different apps that I have within my tenancy, right? So I can go to my admin portal, I can go into PowerPoint, Outlook, OneDrive. I won't list them all. It's just a way that I can connect to different apps. And I guess that's consistent with all of the different Dynamics products that we have, the Microsoft products that we have. Okay, so on the right hand side here, I've got an indicator of what environments I have within this tenancy. So if I click this here, you can see I've got a production, a sandbox, and a sandbox US environment. Okay. So this is basically just listing all of the environments that we have, and I can go in and choose to switch to one of these environments here if I wanted to. So then I've got my search function up at the top here, which I can basically use to connect or search for any page within Business Central. Okay, so if I click the search here, I can type in, for example, customer, and that will show me all of the different areas under pages and tasks, reports and analysis, and global search for my search term customer. Okay, and of course I can click any of these links to take me through to that particular page. So if I click customers, that will take me through to my customers list, and then I can start looking into this data more. I can click into a customer, or I can start doing things like raising sales documents for particular customers if I wanted to as well. But let me just press back and come back to my home screen, and what we'll move to next is the navigation menu up at the top here. Okay, so I've got a lot of different options. So I've got finance, and if I click into that, I can go to my chart of accounts, I can go to fixed assets, budgets, and any of the other options here. Equally, if I go into cash management, I can go into cash flow forecasts. I can see my cash flow chart of cash flow accounts. I can go into my receipt journals, my bank accounts. You get the idea here, guys, right? So it's a navigation menu which is focusing on the number of different areas that we can use within Business Central, and it's basically quick links to take me through to those application areas. And equally on the bottom here, I've got my actions menu, which can basically take me again to a number of different areas. And I should mention here, guys, that this is totally customizable. Okay, so when we're deploying Business Central with a customer, we would look at the home screen and we would optimize the home screen basically to make life a little bit easier when you're using your Business Central environment, right? So you don't want to have to be coming up to the search function here and searching for your pages every time. In an ideal world, you just have the shortcut. It's less clicks to get through to where you need to. So let me just scroll down to the activities area here, and you'll notice that I've got loads of different bits of information on my home screen. So I've got sales this month, overdue sales invoice, purchase invoice, and sales invoices that are predicted overdue, right? And what I can do is I can click into any one of these activity queues, and that will show me more information. Okay, so if I drill down into the tile there, you can see I've now got a list of invoices with my customer number, with my customer name, and I can scroll to the right and see a little bit more information on that data. Okay, so this is all about having that information at our fingertips, easy to access and interrogate as we need to. And I'll scroll further down and I've basically got a whole load of tiles here, which again link me to application areas which may be of use to me. Okay, now bear in mind, I did say earlier that this is all editable. We can personalize and change this the way that we need to, but this is just a business manager evaluation role. That's why I'm seeing everything that I'm seeing on screen right now. Okay. But again here, let me just click into my ongoing purchases and purchase orders tile here. So I've got 17 POs there. And if I click into that tile, it will list all of those 17 POs for me. Again, I can go in and further interrogate. I can click in to see the individual PO and I can see the amounts and other such detail here as well. Okay, now scrolling a little bit further down, I've got a chart here which tells me my top 5 customers by sales value, so I can hover over to get a little bit more information. But if I wanted to take it a step further with charts and graphs on my home screen, as I mentioned earlier, with integration to other areas of the Microsoft product stack, I can literally go into get started with Power BI, and I can go through this wizard to log into my Power BI. And that will literally allow me to surface Power BI reports within my Business Central environment. Okay, so that is a quick overview of my home screen. And I did mention earlier that I'm logged in as a business manager evaluation. So that's the role that I have right now. Okay, guys, if I just go into the available roles, what I'll do is just change this to something totally different. So I've changed it to warehouse worker. And I'm going to press OK. Now, what that will do is it will log me out of Business Central and back in. And this time, what we're seeing on my user interface on my home screen is the role center of a warehouse worker. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing again here, guys, but you see all of the options up at the top here are different now, and my home screen looks very different. And that's because it's basically tailored to the role of a warehouse worker. And I'm just going to switch back to Business Manager evaluation here. And typically when you're sort of deploying Business Central with us, so when we're working with you to deploy BC in your environment, we would work with you to determine, you know, what roles do we have, what shortcuts do we need on that screen, basically try and make day-to-day life a little bit easier for us.
Good. Just on that point, we have had a question just come in. It's kind of related.
Sure.
Is an instance scope to a single company?
So very good question, and no is the answer to that. Thank you for the question there. So what I should mention here is this is the company that I'm logged into. Okay, so I'm logged into Cronus UK Limited, and you can have many companies within a Business Central environment. Okay, so let me go into company here. And there's the company that I'm logged into, Cronus UK Limited, but I've got another one here, my company, and I can add as many companies here as I want to. Okay, so the limit, I think, for companies within a Business Central environment, last time I checked, I think it was 300. So you can have up to 300 companies within your BC environment, and that's not going to be a problem. A few things. if you've got multi-company and maybe consolidation in your Business Central environment as well. We do have a function which I'm not going to be demoing today, but definitely can reach out to you guys and do another demo if you're interested. It's called Master Data Management. Now, I know when you're managing multiple companies within a Business Central or any environment, data and the consistency of that data is really important. And what we can do with the Master Data Management module is I can go in and say, I want to synchronize these tables within my Business Central environment, right? So I can add a table to say, if I add an account to my general ledger in company A, I want that account to go to company B, C, D, E, E, F, etc. Right? So it basically just makes life easier and make sure that your data is more aligned within your Business Central environment. Just one more disclaimer on that, guys, is that, as I mentioned, environments in Business Central. So this is the production environment, and the companies can sit within my production environment. OK, so all of the companies within the production environment are one localization, right? So if you had a company which needed to submit tax in the US versus a company that needs to submit tax in the UK, we would need to modify the production environment to cater for that, because normally an environment in Business Central is localized to one region, right? So you have a GB region, a US region, a Spanish region, etc. But yeah, certainly multiple companies, not a problem. No sweat for BC at all. Thanks for the questions there, guys. Please do keep them coming. But what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to go to my extension management page here. OK, so this is what I mentioned earlier on the facts slide. And basically, Business Central is made up of a load of extensions. OK, so just going to break down this page a little bit. I've got a long list of extensions here, the publisher of which all of them is Microsoft. And if I scroll down here just through these extensions a little bit, look, I've got, for example, email Microsoft 365 connector, right? So this is an extension, a small package of functionality which allows us to send emails out of Business Central. Okay, then I've got another one here for example, making tax digital localization for United Kingdom. So again, this is a small package of functionality and extension which allows us to send our tax results to HMRC. And there's loads of extensions, guys, right? So I'm not going to go through them all, but these extensions listed together within this environment are all that make up the Business Central environment that you see, right? They make up everything that we see here. Now, if you wanted to, you could come into the extension marketplace here. So if I go extension marketplace and basically preview or download or test some other apps available to us within the Business Central environment. Okay, so you can see here we've got about 5,000 apps in the App Store right now. It is growing all the time. I mean, just 2 years ago, I think it was 2,500, maybe a year ago even. But basically, you have apps for your Business Central environment in the same way that you can have an app on your phone. Okay, now, why would you need to download an app on Business Central? Well, maybe there's a small gap in functionality, right? You need Business Central to do something which it doesn't do out of the box. Okay, so how do we address that problem? Well, either us guys here at Kerv Digital, we can modify Business Central, we can create an extension for you to do what you need it to do, or you can search the App Store and download an app which does that for you, right? So a popular one that we use for pretty much all of our deployments now is Continua Document Capture and Continua Expense Management, right? So these are apps which sit on the App Store. You can see here I can download a free trial. I can see how that works and we can use that. So expense management is to submit expenses via your phone and capture pictures of your receipts and so on. And document capture is invoice scanning coming into Business Central. But there are loads of other apps out there, guys, and you can literally just search through the App Store, go into one of those and see a little bit more detail, and you can even go in and do a free trial of some of those there as well. So just coming back to the installed extensions there, guys, it's basically a way that we can either modify Business Central and add an extension into here if there's a gap, you know, BC doesn't do what you need it to out of the box, or we can go and download an app from the App Store to fill that gap as well. So just thinking about time here, guys, and I'm quickly going to move on to my two other areas. So there was one around Copilot, guys. So we're seeing Copilot come in more and more into Business Central and other Microsoft products. What I'm going to do very quickly is just come into my bank account reconciliation module, and in true Blue Peter fashion, I've got a pre-prepared bank reconciliation here. And very simply, if I just explain to you on the left hand side here, I've got my bank statement lines that have come in from my bank statement. They've been imported from there. And on the right hand side here, I've got my bank account ledger entries, which are basically transactions that have been posted on my BC environment. Okay, and what I can do is I can use the reconcile with Copilot function here, and what that will do is it will go ahead and try to reconcile those lines from left to right. Okay, so it's going to check my bank statement and it's going to go ahead and say I found these matches. So you can see here the auto match functionality matched 1 of 3 lines, but the Copilot functionality matched 2 of 3 lines. Okay, and then I can choose to either keep the suggestions or discard them here. And I think we're going to see this more and more, guys, now where Copilot is coming in and sort of helping us with those tasks that are quite mundane at times, but Copilot is definitely going to make those easier. And there are other examples of Copilot. I mean, if I just switch here to my US environment, so I'm only doing this just because the Copilot functionality that I'm demonstrating to you here, the Copilot chat, is not available in UK environments just yet. It's going to come in very soon. I think it's 25.0, but it's not available just yet. But what is the Copilot chat, guys? Well, it's basically a function here which I can use to search my Business Central environment. So it's basically a tool that I can use to ask BC anything, right? So I'm going to say find the latest posted invoice for a Datum corporation. And what that will go away and do is it will check my question and it will search my Business Central environment. It will go away and find the answer for me. Okay, and I think I should mention up at the top here, we can use this to find, we can use this to get a bit of help or a bit of guidance, right? So I'm stuck, I'm not too sure how to process this. Please, can you let me know how to do this, right? And it's taking a little while here. This is a sandbox environment, so I guess performance could be affected by that. But what it will go away and do is it will find your answer for you. And here we go. It's telling me the latest posted invoice for a Datum corporation was this, with a value of this. It's in dollars because I'm in a US environment. And then I can click this this link, which will take me to that particular invoice. Okay, so one other thing that I quickly want to show you, and I'm literally going to spend 30 seconds on this because I keep looking at the clock. So it's the analyze function, right? So it's a pretty cool function which came into Business Central, and I've just pre-prepared something which I can use to demo this. So I've gone to my customer ledger entries page here in Business Central, which is basically just a list of customer transactions. Okay, now this is a typical page in Business Central, but what I can do is put this page into analysis mode. Okay, and what I've got here is basically something that looks like an Excel spreadsheet within my Business Central environment. Okay, so here I've got customer ledger entries due by month, and what I've done is I've used the pivot functionality to list my customers here, and I've said show me when their documents are due. So see here, test customer 2 in June has 3 documents up to the value of 232.50. Okay, and you can start playing with these the way that you want to. You can share these with your colleagues. I can go in and say duplicate, copy link. It's pretty useful. And if I go into my other tab here, I've got my list of customer ledger entries, and if I scroll to the right, I can go down and start highlighting records here, and just on the bottom right you'll see I've got a count, an average, a minimum, maximum, and a sum. Okay, so apologies for rushing that section there, guys, but the analyze tool within Business Central is basically one that you can use to analyze your data. It's basically like having a very powerful Excel spreadsheet layered on top of your Business Central environment.
I'm I'm Jess. Hi everyone. Thanks for joining us on the webinar today. I have the pleasure of asking our friends at LME, David and Daisy, some questions about the project that we did with them earlier in the year. So I'm just going to ask you, David, first question. What were the technical drivers for change?
Hi, Jess. Yeah, so our legacy system was on-prem. So obviously we had some challenges there. If we weren't trying to upgrade the server, we were then having to upgrade the legacy system itself. It was also quite rigid. Well, it was very rigid, and we just couldn't develop it, and we couldn't pull out any of the reports that we needed to, and it just meant a lot of admin work for the finance team to translate all that and send it around the business.
Perfect, thank you. Trish, if you don't mind just moving on to the second question, sorry. Perfect. And so to you, Daisy, similar question, but on the financial side, what were the financial drivers for change?
Yeah, I think that there were a few that played a part. The main one being that we had third-party applications, and we had quite a lot of them, and they were all trying to feed into one another. That had its own issues. So it really was the time for us to bring everything under one umbrella. To create efficiencies within the team and the wider business. The third-party applications that we were using were taking a lot of time, so really to create those efficiencies, and also our running costs every year. You know, we were relying on upgrades, different licenses, different links into different systems, so it was really to try and bring them down as well.
Fab, thank you. David, did you want to add anything into that, or all good?
No, all good.
No, all good. Okay, great. Third question then. What technology did the solution use? I guess that's for you, David.
Yes. So obviously the big one, which you're here for now, is Business Central. But we also had an existing Dynamics customer engagement, which we used previously for our legacy system. So we've had that. We made use of the Continua extension, and we've also brought in jet reporting as well.
Yeah, fab. We're loving Continua expense management and document capture. Lots of your staff are using those now. So next question, how has the system improved the technical operations?
So we made use of out-of-the-box functionality. As I said, where we couldn't, we've got the extensions such as Continua, so we use the out-of-the-box for Continua. Like as an example, the OCL technology, which automatically brings in an invoice into BC from our inbox. You know, that's probably a big game changer for us, because it used to take quite a long time to process an invoice. But we've also introduced some custom developments to our PO process, which has given users more autonomy, which is what they wanted. And it's also meant that we could move away from complicated manipulation of spreadsheets. So we're actually able to pull the reports we need directly from Business Central.
Great, thank you. And then this one's for you, Daisy. Compared to the previous systems, what are the key 3 financial efficiencies that you found within Business Central?
Yeah, I think David and I will overlap with those. I did write them down and had 5, so I have tried to narrow them to your 3. I think the main, you know, as I've already said in the question before, I think having everything within one system for us is a game changer. I would say the Continua expenser, it's the first time we've had anything like this before. We relied on Excel forms and a bit of scanning of a receipt prior to this. So to have this app and to bring us into the 21st century is a massive game changer across the business. Bank automation definitely needs to be mentioned. We now have bank automation, which is incredible. It has cut so much time out of our day-to-day reconciliation. So definitely an efficiency. And then, as David mentioned, the document capture using the OCR technology is huge for us. We get a huge influx of invoices, especially around our event time. So to have that technology in there, picking things up for us ahead of time is massive for us.
Yeah, amazing. Yes. Just going back to your expense management, having that on the go, on your phone, on the app, and then being able to take pictures of the receipts as you go, especially because of all the events that you have. I'm hoping that your staff are really loving that functionality. Okay, next question. What effect has this had on the charity?
So I'm going to mention reporting again. So obviously, because we can actually bring out more real-time or at least near real-time information. It just allows us to make better and more informed decisions. Also, giving time back to our colleagues, especially in our event experience teams, and cutting out their admin. It just gives them time to focus more on the event side of our business, which yes, all of that is a clear enabler for us to help achieve our vision of inspiring activity and our mission to increase and champion participation and diversity in physical activity.
Great, yeah, and obviously we've been using Jet reports to bolster the reporting capabilities within Business Central. I know certainly I've built a few for the team so far, so there is that additional functionality that we're using, which is fab. And what effect, Daisy, this one's for you, what effect has this had on the wider business and employees?
Yeah, so I think we've already touched on the time savings of the expense app. So as I said, that's something that's brand new into the business, and it's definitely had a positive impact. It's also allowing people to submit their expenses earlier than they probably would have done before. It doesn't feel like such a mundane task to fill out spreadsheets. I think probably the biggest one would be our PO process, so our procurement process. We had a system before where people could raise purchase orders, but once it was raised, there was nothing that they could do. They had to come to finance for everything. So that was obviously, it increased our workload, and it also limited what they could do. Now with Business Central, we have the flexibility for requesters to amend their PQs, to delete them before that they're approved. They can also see a lot more throughout the business. They can see invoices that are coming in that aren't related to them. We wanted that visibility. And I was just away with everybody yesterday, and you know, the feedback was that everybody bought into Business Central. So I think we all did our jobs well, because they are all invested and they all think it's positive change.
Oh, amazing. I always love hearing that. It's fabulous, especially because you have so many staff over at LME. So to please everyone is pretty hard, or at least the vast majority. So that is amazing to hear. And then I guess we move on to our next question, which is for you, David. Just thinking about the future, how do you feel about the sustainability of your system going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's great that we've now got an ERP system that's on cloud. We don't have to worry about upgrading our servers or upgrading the system itself. You know, it's going to be able to grow with us and evolve with us as a business. Yeah, we've done a lot of that over the last few years. I just feel we're only scratching the surface of what we can do with Business Central at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, especially now Gerd's demonstrated some of that co-pilot capability. Maybe we can wangle our way into a further project doing some fun stuff there. So last question then, after your experience of migrating to Business Central, would you have done anything differently or have any advice for anyone on the call?
I'll take this one, shall I, Dave? I would say that if anybody decides to go ahead with Business Central, to really utilise the workshops. You know, businesses really need to nail down exactly how their organisation works and exactly how they want that to work. And it's really important to strip that right through to the basics, because with any big project, and it is a big project, you find things as you go, and it would just be great to identify those. I mean, there are no what would I have done differently, because it was a huge success as a project, but you really have to use those workshops. The other thing I would say, and I know that I said this to you many times, Jess and Gerds, is that, you know, we're all used to doing business the way we do it. You have to come into a project like this and be open to change, because, you know, and I used to come and say to you, but are we doing it the right way, or should we be doing it differently? And I think you really have to be open to change to create those efficiencies. Otherwise, you just get stuck in the same cycle, you know. And if you roll it out properly across the business, then you will get everybody on board in support of it, and, you know, people will adapt. So that would probably be my two. I don't know if David's got anything to add.
Yeah, well, I think, yeah, definitely the discovery, as you mentioned there, Daisy, very important. I think in terms of a project plan as well, we didn't really see go live as being the end of the project. We had a phase 2. We had quite a short time to actually build, so we were very clear on what we needed. So I suppose if you're looking at it as a product, just having your MVP, what you actually need to go live, and then the rest can follow later, which is what we've done, and we've done it very well. And I think we just had a lot of fun on the project as well. You know, it's a big project. A lot of people are involved, and it can get quite serious, but at times, especially when you're doing your testing. But, you know, all the way through that project, we had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. So enjoy.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, I could not agree more. I was very sad when we did that phase 2 live, which meant that I didn't get to see you every day on stand-ups. But just go back to your point of testing. I think that was definitely one of the great successes of the project that we did together, was your team and how extensively you tested the system, and you had everyone lined up and those test scripts like locked down. So I think that meant that we were really clear on what we were going into when we did go live. So, oh, fabulous. It was lovely to talk to you. I'm going to pass now back to Gerd, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Jess. Hey, everybody. So I'm just going to talk to you guys a little bit more about moving over from GP or Great Plains and Nav to Business Central. So we're just going to dive a little bit more into some details here. Let's please move on, Trish. Thank you. So I guess the first question is why should we consider migrating, right? So I mean, focusing on sort of GP and Nav, you know, I know we've just got GP on the slide there, but for both of those, you know, we're talking about products which do have limited cloud capabilities, and they're very much sort of not on the Microsoft roadmap anymore, you know, so they are out of mainstream support. So it's definitely worth considering moving over to a product like Business Central. You know, I mentioned earlier BC being in the cloud. It is one of those products that once you go through the sort of transition period, the transformation into a Business Central environment, it's something that you can sort of sit back and relax about afterwards. You know, you don't need to worry about migrating and upgrading afterwards. It's something that's there as part of the service. It's the SaaS service that you pay for. The upgrades and everything as such are all included as part of that. And you know, if there was a continuous improvement that you guys wanted to put in place as well, most of our customers choose to go down that route with us. You know, we're always happy to help and sort of help our customers use their BC environments better. So if we could just move on to the next one, Trish, please. So on this next slide here, we basically just focus on a few of the different issues that we might consider when we're moving from GP to Business Central. And in the interest of time, I'm not going to go through each one of these. I guess we can share the slides afterwards or recording. But if I just focus on a few of the sort of more modern things that we're working with there, we've got AI, which is not available on GP on-prem, but in Business Central you saw two of the elements of the AI functionality, and there's more coming in. You know, we've got Wave 2, which is coming in October, and so very soon we will have more AI bits to play with. As well as this, we've got sort of connectivity just on the bottom there. Because GP is predominantly on-prem, it's difficult to sort of connect that to the outside world. It's not impossible. It can be done, but it's difficult at times depending on what sort of system you're integrating with. But Business Central being in the cloud, you know, it's really easy to knock up an API, and it is very secure these days. We use Entra ID apps to make sure, you know, login and authentication is all very secure. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'm not going to run through all of these just because we've got a bit to get through yet. So if we could just move on to the next one, please, Trish. So this is just a note to mention around why people are choosing to move to the cloud. Well, the first point there is it's modernized, it's for modernized systems and it's modern security, right? So I certainly know in the on-prem systems, GP and Nav, typically you'd have username and password authentication, you know, to log in and integrate with those systems. As I just mentioned, sort of with BC, it's all Entra ID apps, okay? It is improved productivity online as well. So, you know, it's a lot easier to share data across Microsoft Teams, Office, Power Platform. And then just focusing very quickly on the last point there, we do cut costs and simplify IT management, right? So there's no need to manage those on-prem servers. And if something goes down, you know, it's difficult to deal with on-prem. You know, I've been there and helped customers through that, whereas in the cloud, we've got a lot of things that are put in place by Microsoft. I mean, Business Central environments, for example, are backed up every 30 minutes, and you can revert to those backups within minutes, right? So it's a lot more secure and easier on the cloud platform to deal with. And sorry, Trish, let's move on, please. And I'm just going to quickly run through some of the bits on here. So this is some of the key concerns. You know, you've got an older system in place, and you've got, for example, some customizations which you might need to move over. So there are paths that we can take, well-trodden paths that we can take to help make this a little bit easier. But as Dave and Daisy mentioned earlier, you know, workshops is one of those things that we do very, very often. I mean, we always start projects off with workshops because at the end of the day, we need to understand your business to understand how we're going to set up Business Central for you, right? So guys, I'm not going to run through any of these on here apart from that customizations one, but what I will do is I'm just going to ask Trish to move on to the next slide here, and I'm going to pass over to Brad, who's going to talk us through a little bit more about moving to Business Central.
Thank you, Gerd. Appreciate the handover. So as Alex said at the top of the call, I'm Brad Martin. So I assist Kerv from an Ingram Micro perspective in navigating the tricky waters that is Microsoft licensing and Dynamics licensing. So I just want to take you through some incentives to help you basically navigate any move from Great Plains or any other platform that you might be on at the moment. So we utilize a Microsoft program called AIM, specifically focused on Great Plains or anything else that you might be on, such as Nav on premise or Solomon or something a little bit older than that. So AIM stands for Accelerate, Innovate and Move. So it's a structured program to help take you from the very first process in the move, which Daisy was mentioning earlier, workshops, start at the workshops, right through to the innovation stage, and then eventually that move and go live with all the user acceptance testing, ticking every box along the way. Next slide, please. Okay, brilliant. So first thing we need to do is we need to check eligibility. From a customer perspective, we need to check that you're eligible for any funding that could be used in these pre-sales processes, in these key workshops, to help you get a bit of funding back to help towards the project costs. Many end users will have lots of different reasons for staying on these legacy systems, and sometimes it can be a cost consideration. So to help get any money back from Microsoft Pocket back into yours to help fund some of these workshops can really be a key catalyst in starting you on that journey. So if we just talk about the customer eligibility first, okay, so you need to be on a qualifying product to qualify for this AIM funding. So Great Plains being one of those, and obviously, as we know, the sun is setting on the support of Great Plains, as it is with many of the other nav versions that are still on premise. Solomon is another probably more rare platform that you might be on at the moment, but also qualifies for that. So as long as you're on those and you have something called BREP up to date, which is an enhancement plan, it can be known as. So this is a fee that you pay to Microsoft every year to keep your updates coming through, support and other benefits. So as a customer, you have to qualify by having that enhancement plan up to date. If you haven't got it up to date, don't worry, fear not, because you can backdate your payment to Microsoft to help give you that eligibility to make you eligible for the funding. Some great news here is partner eligibility. Kerv tick all of the boxes. So as long as they've got their business applications solutions partner designation status, they qualify to get that funding back for you, which they've got a big tick in the box. Again, taking you back to Alex at the start of the presentation, that's all sorted for you. So next slide, please. Okay, so depending on the size of your project, depends how much money you get back as part of this pre-sales engagement, these funded workshops that can be provided by Kerv from Microsoft. So the way that they calculate that is through an annual contracted revenue. Okay, so when we first send our forms off to Microsoft, we're essentially going to take the amount of users that will be live in the new system, and that will calculate an annual contract value for licensing. And it's this calculation that Microsoft used to help determine how much money you can be eligible for to get back during the pre-sales funding. So we start at the very small, extra small engagements, right up to the extra large engagements. And we've seen projects delivered across all of these ranges of engagements. I think the great thing about Business Central is that it can be used for one user, and then you can kind of scale it right up to those hundreds of users as it grows with you as a system. So depending on the size of the project, depends how much funding you could potentially get back to help fund those pre-sales workshops. Next slide, please. Brilliant. So that's from a pre-sales funding perspective, but let's talk about licensing, and let's talk about discount on licenses. So any move to, if your engagement plan, enhancement plan is up to date, you will qualify for the Bridge to Cloud 2 promotion. Now what that is, it's 40% off your licenses for Business Central over a 3-year term. So that's massive. That is absolutely huge. When you calculate the cost of that across all of your users over a 3-year term, it can really be the catalyst to help you make a decision to move to Business Central. Now, not only is this available for commercial end users, but it's also available for not-for-profit end users too. So that, again, is an offer from Microsoft that is live. We're in the second revision of this, actually. So the first Bridge to Cloud promotion was so successful. This is the second revision that will run until the end of this year, and who knows, there might be a Bridge to Cloud 3 promotion next year. Next slide, please. One last thing I want to leave you with is, again, when you're getting that abacus out and you're trying to put costs together and weigh up a move from Great Plains to Business Central, sometimes it can be really, really difficult to think of everything that you might be saving, right down from energy to backup solutions, the server hardware that you've got. There is a total cost of ownership calculator available from Microsoft to help you hit the cost of keeping current on-premise infrastructure in place versus a move to Business Central Cloud. Okay, so this will just help you calculate everything that you might not have thought about, which again can be that catalyst to, and there's common myths out there that it will cost more than an on-premise solution, but I encourage you to use this total cost of ownership calculator to really calculate the true cost of that move. And I think that is bang on time. Thank you very much. Any further information you want to find out on total cost of ownership or any of the pre-sales promotions or Bridge to Cloud 2, please inquire within Kerv.